All right, this week we're going to be learning another element of art. We already know that the elements of art are the building blocks of all art. So, what are the elements in review? Color, value, line, shape, form, texture, space. And we're going to be starting today with value. Value, you may want to write down again, is the lightness or darkness of a color. Excuse that bell. All right, so value refers to the lightness or darkness of a color. If you haven't written that down, you'll need to do that right now. And that can be confusing. A lot of people think that value is just light colors and dark colors, but it's specifically only one color. As you can see in this picture, you have pink, orange, and yellow, and you have a light yellow all the way to dark yellow. Paint chips are a great way to show colors and values. If you next time you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, grab you a paint chip and you can just see how it's the same color but different values of that color. So, how do we create value? Well, we can create value when we add white to a color, and that creates a tint. So you take blue, add white, you have a tint of blue. And tint, I know a lot of people think about it when they think about car windows, adding tint, making it darker. But in art, when related to value, it's actually making it whiter. So if you haven't written this down, you need to write down that color plus white equals tint. And then on the other side of that, we have a shade. Shade is when you add black to a color. So it's the color blue plus black equals shade. So write that down. Okay, so we have tints and we have shades. And a lot of times when we're talking about value, sometimes you will also hear the word tonal or tone. And that is usually referred to in photography, but it's nice to go ahead and learn it. So tone is when you add gray to a color. So blue plus gray equals tone. So if you hear the word tonal, think of grays. So go ahead and write that down. Let's point out an example of a tint. Okay, so if you look at the outer ring of that color wheel, the very outer ring, those are all tints because that is, let's say purple had added white, okay? If you go to the inner ring of the color wheel, you will see the darker colors and those are your shades, okay? So if you look closely, you can see shades in that inner ring. So if you look at this color wheel, it starts off with white. So if you add white to a color, you create tints. The further out you go, then you see pure hue. That is your orange or red without anything added to it. It's pure. And then as you move further out, you get into your shades because you are now adding black. Creating value, you need to write this first sentence, that artists commonly create value scales to help them practice making a full range of values. You are going to be doing that tomorrow or whatever day you choose to do the next activity. All right, you need to know that value scales are arranged from light to dark. All right, so to create a value scale with a pencil, you're going to control the pressure, and we will be doing that together live. But if you are taking notes right now, you need to know what a value scale is, and maybe you can draw just a little example. You don't even have to color it in, but maybe you can draw the blocks and just know that it's arranged from light to dark. All right, value can be used to make objects look more three-dimensional. Remember, we talked about this in the beginning when we talked about the difference between shape and form in the elements of art. Shape is just like you see there, the 2D circle. But how do we make it look like it's three-dimensional? Well, that's all lights and shadows, which we're also going to do in another activity. So you can see the circle on the right, shape. But just using a little shading, the circle on the right has now taken the shape of a form and 3D sphere. All right, using value to create form. So this picture, and this is also what we're going to be doing live in our drawing together. But it breaks down the different values used to make the sphere. And we are going to do this also. So you don't really need to write anything. But I would write maybe that little tip there at the bottom, that blending. Blending values is very important to make something look more realistic. Blending, okay, and we're going to talk about that as well. So blending values. Value can also be created by using techniques other than shading, like stippling, hatching, and cross-hatching. And you learned all those terms when we talked about the element of line. And so now you can see in that first square, hatching and cross-hatching, so how just adding simple lines has created value. And same thing with the stippling. The further out they are, the less value. But then in that last square, you can see how close they are together. This created more value. The images below demonstrate how hatching, cross-hatching, and stippling can be used to create value. So there's hatching, and those lines are used to in areas where there might be a shadow on the hand that's pointing. Cross-hatching, there you can see in the apple, to create more value at the top and the center and the sides. And then you see an example of stippling in the eye. Who knew? Another thing you might have seen before is called pointillism, when they're using dots to create an image. And there you can see the stippling is used close together to really create that dark value. All right, so hopefully you took notes, because you will be answering a discussion question in Schoology, and look forward to drawing together with you.